Hello and welcome to the second update video from Razbam. Just before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for your kind words of support and criticism that we received on the last video. I'm going to take a lot of what you guys say on board, and I hope you guys like the improved videos as they go on throughout the months. Again, as another quick note, I just want to thank all the guys that posted questions. We're going to try and answer them towards the end of this video, so please stay tuned. If you have any questions that you want to put forward to Razbam, put them in the comments below and we will try to answer them on the next video. As a quick caveat, as normal, you're going to see a lot of work in progress modules, so please treat them as such. They do not represent the final product, and they are certainly no representation of the final product released by DCS or Eagle Dynamics in any way, shape or form. So now that we've got that out of the way, what are we going to cover today? So we're going to do the changelogs. Again, this is going to be a bit shorter than last month for two reasons. One, a lot of the team were on holiday last month. And the other part is that the first video we covered 2 months worth of updates, whereas this time we're only covering one. So we're going to cover the changelogs, we're going to talk about the Mig-19 updates, and then we're going to have an interview with Clarke regarding the Southern Atlantic terrain team. We're then going to answer some of your questions. Also, just as a heads up, next month's video will be covering the F-15 Strike Eagle. So if you have any questions for the developers in relation to the Eagle, please post them in the comments below and we will try to answer them next month. That being said, let's have a look at the changelogs to start with. So let's start with the Harrier. So the biggest changes that we've done this month is the RWR volume control has now been enabled, and also the contact status sounds have been updated and fixed for the RWR, as well as the SAM lock sound bug has also been rectified. So the other changes that we've done this month is we've corrected the colour video showing on the monochrome green display for the Harrier as well. That really covers it for the Harrier, so let's now move on to the Mirage. Again, not as many as there were last month, but the biggest improvement that we've done this month is the HUD brightness has now been enabled, meaning that when it comes to night ops, you're now able to dim the HUD. The training and the campaign missions have also received their updates as well in relation to the changes of DCS. Also this month we fixed the issue with the English cockpit mod not working, so now this should be working across the beta platform. So that covers the changelogs. Let's now talk about the Mig-19 the Farmer. So the project again is going extensively well, and we hope to share some really intensive videos with you guys over the next coming weeks of the Farmer. But let's talk about what we've done. So the first tests of the new gun sights were enacted this month. So last month we showed you the K50 gun sight in use as a placeholder, whereas this month we've released the ASP-5 optical and the AR-18 radar gun sights. We've been testing the basic functionality, and thus far they've been a huge improvement, and we cannot wait to share some extensive videos detailing the gun sight as well as the weapon systems themselves. The other part that we showed you this month is the radar scope is almost finished. Larry has done an amazing job getting this to the level it is now. We shared the day and the night mode, and again, stay tuned for more videos on the Farmer over the next coming weeks detailing some of the epic work that we've been working on. Now let's move on to the Southern Atlantic. So again, we're going to have an interview with Clarke in a minute. The HMS Leeds Castle has been created, again very much work in progress. For those of you who probably haven't seen the pictures, just head over to razbamsimulations.com and have a look at the website. We try to detail the changelogs as well as all the updated information and pictures that we share for the upcoming projects. Now, moving on, let's have our interview with Clarke. Clarke, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Look, Clarke, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to the community and share your experiences and also your development of the...
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Okay, so just to the community, what we're going to do is we're going to ask Clarke a few questions, and we're just generally going to have a good chat with Clarke. If you've got any questions that you want to ask out for the next video, post them in the comments below and we'll make sure we get them answered. That being said, Clarke, let's get cracking, and the first question that we've got from the community is, will we see the Argentinian coast in the new map?
The answer to that is hopefully. Fingers crossed. There are a few restrictions with the way how much terrain ED can generate with their engine. So hopefully fingers crossed, I'm going to try and get the coastline in. So at the moment I've been concentrating pretty much on the islands themselves because there's an absolute astounding amount of works to be done and has been done for just to get the base structure in place for the islands.
Okay, brilliant. Well, look, thanks for asking that. The next question that we've got, Clarke, is what sort of challenges, or should I say, what is the biggest challenge that you faced building the new map been so far?
I would say learning the new process and new tool set. So essentially, if you take it from what the community knows from a modding perspective, you generate an EDM from 3D Studio Max. You create your three textures, your normal map, your albedo, and maybe a specular. Forget about that process. The terrain development kit, which is the new product from ED, doesn't use EDMs, so it's a whole new learning curve, and and just getting your head around that really.
Okay, well, it certainly looks like you're doing a good job based on the images and the videos that we've seen. So again, thank you for the work that you put in so far. That being said, Clarke, let's talk about the process. I mean, how do you go about building a map for DCS?
There's various applications that we kind of use. First being, a free application, Google Earth. That's used to essentially get a bounding box around roughly what you want to capture. Then we pass that into an application called Global Mapper, which we then can extract height data for the area. There are various other sources of data like ocean floors we get from other locations. So this is all satellite driven data, which is completely accurate. Then we take that information that we generate in Global Mapper and various other sources, bring it all together in the terrain development kit, and then start work on refining that data as far as coastlines, where the roads are, putting bridges in, where roads intersect with rivers, and creating the various assets within the map.
Okay, and now I'm taking it from that you then have to change the elevation of the map in certain areas for roads, mountains. Would that be a fair assumption?
Pretty much. I mean, not all of the data that comes in is completely clean.
Okay.
So, for instance, you might have a perfect coastline, but when the data's brought in, you might have some sort of obscure weirdness going on with there. So you've got to basically go through the whole map and correct any data. Generally, the coastline has been the most challenging part because that has taken 8 weeks of my life solid. And that's if you count working 9 hours a day.
Wow.
So basically, there's a spline that goes around the coastline to represent the coast. And each inch, there's a point. And you have to move that point to the right place.
Wow. So a very labour-intensive process just to get the coastline correct. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you want the experience to be as realistic as possible. So, I mean, the way that the OSM data is generated, if you've got a beach, and then it may put the spline to the left like 3 meters. So if you generated the map like that, you would have a nice little bit of land, and then you would see picture of the sea as part of the land, which is not really kind of realistic. We're not using the picture to generate the OSM data around
Right.
like the coastline and stuff. That's done with an OSM data source. So there's quite a few steps.
Wow.
And then you've also got the other steps like texturing in Substance Painter, Photoshop, 3D Studio, Maya, Substance Designer for tileable textures, UV wrapping utilities to learn or to whatever. Then you've got ZBrush. Then you've got to start on the base models, which are kind of generated in the same way as we always have done, but they still need to be done. Textures need to be done. They still need to be tested, integrated with the map.
Okay. So let's talk about the textures then. So we've seen, we've seen in DCS that they have the bushes, they have the grass, they have the trees. Is that something that is universal across the board, or are they made specifically per map?
I would say specifically per map, to be honest with you. If you do some research on the Falklands, there are no trees.
Yep.
Apart from non-indigenous ones. So somebody's come out in the back garden and planted a tree maybe 30 years ago, in Port Stanley and stuff. So there are quite a few different varieties of trees that we are trying to kind of identify. And the only means we've got to do that are pictures on Google Earth, because I'm not going to the Falklands anytime soon. So, and first-hand knowledge really, and speaking to people.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's
But
quite a trek. It's not like it's, Spain. It's not 2 miles down the road. It's
yeah,
quite a trek, isn't it? Let's be honest. So, yeah.
I mean, I've built some custom bushes and hedges and stuff, which we're going to get into the engine. So there's another tool, speed tree. That's
Yep.
another application that you need to learn as well as part of the process.
Okay. So, in relation to the other elements of the Falkland Islands, I mean, I guess one question's got to be: Are we going to get penguins?
I would hope so. Edie
Good.
put cows in. I want penguins. So
Definitely. Will they be like the penguins from Madagascar?
well, you never know. There might be a single penguin that you must find. Who knows?
A little Easter egg penguin. That'd be great. All right. So the buildings then. So I guess from what you mentioned a moment ago, the buildings are going to be all built specific for the Falklands naturally. Is that something that you do, or are there other people in the team that are going to do that?
We've got a couple of other members of the team which do a few buildings for me. I've done quite a few buildings, but the biggest challenge that we have at the moment is the fact that if you look at pictures of the Falkland Islands, it's all unique. It doesn't really look like it's, the same buildings in Manchester, the same buildings in Spain or whatever. They're all really bright roofs, different sizes, different colours, very obscure shapes. Some of them are very obscure shapes. I mean, there's an iconic one in Stanley, the big church.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've modelled the church. It's just getting round to doing the textures and finding time to do that. So, yeah, the biggest challenge I would say is just matching stuff up and that.
Yeah, like I said, it can't be easy naturally being so far away. Obviously, for the guys that are listening, Clarke lives in the UK, so you can't exactly take a ferry across to Argentina or to the Falklands. So yeah, it must be pretty stressing in relation to that. But again, we appreciate your the work that you're putting into it. We appreciate that you do work outside as you have a normal job as well. So you're certainly a decent chap in relation to what you do. So thanks for that.
Yeah, welcome.
So let's just talk about a couple of other questions that we've got, if that's okay. The first one is what the assets that we're going to see now. Clarke, we obviously know that we're going to get ships such as HMS Leeds. We've seen artillery pieces, a couple of tracked vehicles. Is that something that you are doing? Are you working on the vehicles as well?
I work on the land vehicles. We have a very, very talented chap who does the ships, which is just phenomenal work, really, because everything comes from the plans, the actual plans. I've seen many instances where we've had a chat, and he said, "I've just received my 71 pages of plans."
Yeah, I saw that.
So then he's got to kind of convert that, and then do something to get something to be realistic. But so essentially he does the ships.
Okay, so another question that we've got here is in relation to the AI assets. Will we be seeing the Vulcan? I think we can cover that off and say we don't know as of yet. That isn't something that we can talk about yet, so we'll move on.
Yeah.
Air bases. So a couple of people have asked questions. What air bases are we going to see in the Falklands? Because there's a bit of do we see this air base? Do we not? Because of the time period. I mean, I'll leave that to you. I mean, do you want to touch on what sort of air bases are going to be in the map?
Well, there's quite a few air bases, but the primary air base in the Falklands is obviously, we know, is Stanley. Now, Stanley at the time wasn't particularly big. We've obviously got, airstrips that will be put in as well, like Bleaker Island, Darwin, Douglas Station, stuff like that. The biggest challenge I have is that I have actually modelled Mount Pleasant, but Mount Pleasant wasn't built until 1985.
Right, okay.
The biggest decision that I kind of make, and I'm wondering whether the community can vote on this, because it is a very big dilemma, because there's no way for me to say, if you choose a date prior to 1985, Mount Pleasant won't be there. If you choose something after that, it will be there. There isn't that facility within the tool set at the moment, because I have asked. Not saying that it won't be available in the future, but it's not at the moment. Okay. So we need to make a decision whether I'm going to include the Mount Pleasant airbase within the scenario, essentially.
Okay, well, let's put it to the vote. So we'll chuck something on the Facebook for all the listeners, and also in the subscriptions below. Sorry, the comments below. Mention whether or not you think that we should have Mount Pleasant. Just simply put Mount Pleasant yes, Mount Pleasant no. We'll leave it for the. Should we leave it a month, Clarke? I think that's plenty of time, wouldn't it? Let's do that. And yeah, we'll see what we get from that. So basically, look, guys, it's up to you in relation to whether or not you see the map. So Clarke's given you guys full autonomy to have a really good input in relation to what is included on the map, so do take full advantage of it. Clarke, look, thank you for your time. I appreciate you answering those questions, and I'd like to leave with a closing question to you, if I might, and that is there anything that you want to say to the community at this time?
Yeah, I mean, everything that Razbam posts, we try to be open as honest as possible. So any images that you do see, whatever we put out, treat it as work in progress, and we'll try and keep you as updated as possible.
Well, look, Clarke, that we'll wrap that up now. Then we'll let you get back to building the map. Hurry up. But yeah, no. Again, thank you very much for your time, and we'll move on now. So let's now talk about the Q&A session from last month. Okay, so the first question that we have, actually it's a two-part question, is in relation to the Super Tucano. First part of the question is, will it be a single-seater or a twin-seater? In short, it will be a twin-seater, that's our goal. The second question is in relation to the weapons. What weapon systems will this platform have? We can't really answer that at the moment. I mean, it's such an early development in relation to the build that we haven't really covered the weapons yet. What we will do is when that time comes, we will cover that on the forum, website, and also Facebook as well. Okay, moving on to a question for the Mirage. Will the HUD brightness control be implemented anytime soon? That has now been incorporated. Next question, what are the chances of ever seeing an Avro Vulcan in DCS? At the moment, we can't really share that with you. We haven't really discussed the AI flying assets. The ground and vehicle ones are being worked on. When we have some more information in relation to the non-flyable AI assets, we'll definitely share that with you guys, so stay tuned. Next question is, any news on the KC-135 BDA getting its bug fixed? Guys, we'd love to help you out, but that's not something that Razbam has generated. It might be worth pointing your questions on the ED forum towards ED in that regard. Okay, so next question is, will you add an English cockpit option for the Mirage? Yeah, that's now working and in the game. Okay, next question, do you plan to expand the environment? I think in particular the LCAC landing craft or the Tarawa sister ship. At the moment, not yet. It is certainly something that we're looking at doing, but we've got other priorities at the moment, so we will share some more information with you guys in relation to that in the future. So that covers it for the questions, and again, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Next month we're going to be talking to Tim predominantly about the F-15 Strike Eagle project, so we've got some really interesting things to share with you in that respect. If you have any questions for Tim in regards to the F-15 Strike Eagle or any other member of the Razbam team, please put them in the comments below, and we will try and get them answered on the next video. That being said, let's now close off this video. So again, thank you very much for watching and happy flying. Stay safe.
Могучий царевич.